That was the first 7 minutes of Anthony Braxton's composition 356, dedicated to the writer and scholar Noam Chomsky, from 9 Compositions Iridium, 2006. This presentation is called Trance Sequence on Anthony Braxton and Method, an integrated presentation and reading on the music of Anthony Braxton and its relation to my poetry, followed by audience comments and questions. Braxton's dedications of his 1988 5-volume composition notes emphasize the variety of his influences. They include cool jazz saxophonists Paul Desmond and Warren Marsh, avant-garde saxophonists John Coltrane and Ornette Coleman, European composers Arnold Schoenberg and Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, American composer John Cage, the Association for the Advancement of Creative Musicians' as co-founder, pianist Muhal Richard Abrams. This conflux of influences led to Braxton's groundbreaking record, For Alto, recorded in 1969, a double LP of solo saxophone music using his language music system, compositional strategies for notation, and its combination with improvisation. For Alto realized subsections of Composition 8, the deconstructed approaches of ballad language, medium-fast pulse relationships, very slow language with silence, fast pulse intensity language, and trills, medium-slow pulse. Braxton would extensively develop a system to continue composing solo language music, as well as composing for piano, small groups, duos, orchestras, theater, and opera, surrounded by frequent improvisational and standard projects. In his introduction to catalog of works included in composition notes and on the handout, Braxton emphasizes all of these works are part of one organic sound world state. And all of these efforts seek to affirm my life experiences, that being what I have learned and experienced in my actual real life as perceived from my value systems, rather than from imposed social and or political values. Composition notes in the philosophical 1985 3-volume Triaxiom writings are complementary attempts by Braxton to seize contextual control of his work by establishing his own system. From Triaxiom writings' preface on the handout, my approach attempts to vibrationally and systematically view the whole of Earth creativity and its related information continuums as a basis to re-solidify a transformational viewpoint about creative music. At present, the reality of creative music commentary has very little to do with supplying transformational viewpoints, let alone transformational solutions. From Composition Notes' preface on the handout, I believe there is nothing more important than establishing proper documentation so that information is not lost. The importance of establishing correct documentation would only later become important to me, when I began to worry about the distance between what the Western critical and defining community called jazz and my own perception of the subject. The nature of present-day commentary has moved to place much emphasis on the concept of the new star or spectacle, rather than on establishing a proper context to understand what a given person or continuum is. I write this because my intentions in creative music were established by the time I was 20 years old. My work is no plaything that can be put up or down in accordance to the whims of a given spectacle period. Nor do I see my life's work hostage to any one interpretation about nationality or race, to be used in the war between what we think we like as opposed to dislike. Music is much too important to be misused for evil and decadence. Braxton's system enabled an unstoppable organic sound world state life work, resistant to imposed social and or political values, the Western critical and defining communities, and the whims of given spectacle periods, regularly embodied by hostile reactionary guardians of the various traditions he engaged in. In his quartet from 1984 to 1993 with Marilyn Crispell, piano, John Lindberg, bass, to be replaced in 1995 by Mark Dresser, and Jerry Hemingway, percussion, Braxton developed a major shift for his work, enabling the simultaneous collaging of compositions. From Henry Kaiser's liner notes to 12 compositions Love at Yoshi's, July 1993. All of Braxton's different composed works from many different contexts, symphonic, operatic, duo, group, and solo compositions can and are employed to make up a typical quartet set. The collage-like structure of a quartet set enables the four players to navigate through any different form states, relationships, and contexts of musical exploration and discovery, both sequentially and simultaneously. Half of the group may play a duo composition, while the other half plays solo compositions or pulse tracks. Pulse tracks comprise a sequence of notated materials interspersed with short spaces for improvisation and are typically played by the bass and drums, while the other instruments may play seemingly unrelated composed or improvised materials. For example, the pulse track from Composition 108 takes place under and within Composition 23M, a more traditionally oriented Mingus-Coleman jazz-like structure. A solo piano composition, 32, is performed by Marilyn Crispell during these proceedings. Primary and secondary territories of the musical continuum can sometimes flip back and forth, like the familiar figure and ground optical illusion that can be viewed either as a wine glass or two human faces in profile. This structural depth and complexity offers a fabulous platform for the improviser to launch his or her flights of revelation. Braxton's next major shift was the ghost trance music compositions developed between 1995 and 2006, which you heard in the presentation's beginning. From Jonathan Piper's essay, Like a Giant Choo-Choo Train System, in the liner notes to six compositions Iridium, 2006. Braxton wanted to extend his system to allow still greater integration of the compositions, while at the same time opening even more space for individual expression. Things fell into place in 1995 after Braxton sat in on a Native American music course and studied the ghost dance rituals of the late 1800s. For Braxton, the ghost dance had great resonance. The ghost dance music, when it was put together, that came about in a time after the American Indian had been decimated. 98% of their culture destroyed, Braxton recalls. Various tribes came together and compiled whatever information they had left. Drawing on the example of all-night ghost dance ceremonies and other world trance musics, Braxton looked to construct a melody that doesn't end, to serve as a train tracks to cohere his system. Ghost trance music's performance begins with the primary material, based on a sequence of mostly staccato notes played in unison over a constant pulse. Each composition also includes 4 pages of secondary material, which can be interjected at any point in the performance. In addition, Braxton suggests additional compositions from his oeuvre, tertiary material, that he thinks would be well suited to incorporate with the new ghost trance music piece. From the 12+1 Tet Iridium performances, Braxton also looked to the section leaders to introduce pre-planned secret material of their own choosing. From Braxton's liner notes to 6 compositions Ghost Trance Music, 2001. With this structural tool, Ghost Trance Music, I would begin the task of mapping out the spaces of our music system, both in the structural specification sense, as well as in the imaginary operating space specifications, as a way to put the system itself to work. With this formal prototype, it would be suddenly possible to construct a fence from a territorial perspective, from a continental perspective. 12 identities transposed as 12 defined city-state regions within the greater operating space of the music, the active space. Since 2006, Braxton's ongoing projects include diamond curtain wall music, combining improvisation with interactive electronics, Echo Echo Mirror House, combining live performance and sampling from Braxton's recordings, Falling River music, exploring image logic, construct painting scores, Sonic Genome, an interactive music environment, and Trillium, his opera cycle.